Anyone who does not speak English, parlez-vous anglais?
Oui.
Ouais,
Qui a besoin de se faire traduire?
Sorry? We can translate.
Ils sont en anglais.
Bon. I do not speak French. Very little bit. Good. So we're going to do a workshop on the Zwerchau. And in the workshop, of course, we're going to look at the technical side of the Zwerchau itself, but we'll also look at some other things like distance and timing, and when exactly you have to use this technique. Because if you use it in the wrong moment, you'll get screwed. And that's what we're going to focus on, both offensive as well as defensive. First of all, there are many different ways on how to do the Zwerchau. There's different manuals give different interpretations, and different pictures show them in different positions, where either it comes from below, it comes more from above. There's a whole array of choices. And depending on the time, we'll do two of those. One as an offensive, as an attack, and one as a defensive, as a defense to do an attack. And during those exercises, we also work, as I said, on timing and on distance. So, to begin with, do you know what the Zwerchau is meant for? What does it do? What does it counter? Where specifically is this cut meant to do? Yes, exactly. Thank you. So it's the Meisterhau against the Fontaine, or against anything that comes from above, basically. And that's the first thing that we're going to do. You're going to partner up, and we're going to move around. And when someone seizes the going into a Fontaine or a high guard, you go in with your Zwerchau. And that's just the first step to recognize the moment where you can do it. Because either you can wait for someone to come in with a cut and then respond to it, or you can take initiative, and the moment the sword goes up, you go in for your attack. And it will look something like this for the first exercise. If I could borrow you. Yeah. Thank you. So for the very first exercise, which is going to be simple, we're going to move around, switch guards. Me as attacker, it's easy if I stay in either the Fontaine with him shoulder next to the ear, or if you want to above your head. Personally, I think this is the nicest way to do this exercise. The defender, the moment he goes into a Fontaine, that's when I come in. Just so we recognize the moment where I have to come in with my attack. Before we do that, let me just, is there anyone who has not practiced the motion itself? Because if so, then we'll do that first. Right.
Est-ce que tout le monde sait faire un Zwerchau?
Oui, c'est bon. That's all right.
Then I'll come to you in a second, but there's no problem. And we'll finalize in a bit, but the first thing I want to do is recognize the moment. So as attacker, I stand in a Fontaine. Defender can choose any guard, just switch around. As the masters say, you don't want to stay in a guard. You want to move. You want to come across, and the moment the sword goes up, that's where you step in. So important is your distance. If I'm too far away, and the moment he goes up, I won't be able to reach him within one step. I have to make a jump. So I have to stay within this distance. Okay? So distance is important. If the defender goes up in his Fontaine, stay where you are. Don't move about. Retake the guard. So it's the task for the defender to, while moving, stay put. And if nothing happens, of course, you can continue. But the first thing is the moment he goes up, he stays there just for a few seconds, so I can come in and make my cut. Just to practice the moment and practice the distance, okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Find the partner and practice it. So just do like 4 each, and then swap, the other one can attack. So just to recognize the moment, sword goes up, you go in. Alright, so we practice the distance and the moment. The next thing we'll do is look at how we exactly execute the strike. And as I said, there are different ways to do the Zwerchau. And in my opinion, if you want to use it as an attack, as an offensive motion, there's a certain way that works best. Which, if I'm training across from an opponent, if I come in already horizontal, he will know what I'm doing. And it's easier to counter, either by just setting it aside or hitting on top of the Zwerchau, which we'll do later. So I want to make it look as if I'm coming in with a normal cut from above. So that's also the starting of my motion. I come in with a cut that looks as if it's a normal overhow. So my opponent thinks it's a normal overhow, so the only thing he has to do is just parry and, for example, thrust in the face. It's a very simple counter against an overhow. But when I do this, the moment my blade goes forward, the moment the point is up, I change into a Zwerchau. So it looks as if it's coming in like a normal attack, and that's also the motion that my body makes. It looks as if I'm just making a normal Oberhau, normal strike from above with the long edge, like this. But what happens is the moment I go forward, I change. Which means that I don't have this whole horizontal cut to make the cut. But it's much less obvious what I'm doing. So, if I can use you again. If you can just put on your mask, you don't have to sort out, you have to sort it out. For the next exercise, he's just going to stand still, and he's going to look at me. I'm going to make normal cuts from above, and he's going to look at the movement. One thing already, if you're doing the cut just as extra information, make sure to stay behind your blade. Don't attack like this where the whole center is open, just as extra info. Anyway, once in a while, I will come in normally, and then change into a Zwerchau, and it's up to him to see where he sees that change. Because if I already here come in, it's way too obvious, and for him it would be very easy to counter. If I'm too late, I won't be able to get force behind the blow. So you have to be somewhere in between there. So, this extra, I'm going to do it 5 times, and he can do it 5 times. I'm just going to come in with a normal cut, normal Oberhau, and then I'm going to come in with a Zwerchau. And what you want from this moment, the moment your blade goes forward, is pull with the left and push with the right. You really want to push your right hand in. Important is that I don't keep my right hand in the center, I control the center by keeping it slightly on my left. So if I end up my cut right here in the middle, I'm in a weaker position. There's a clear line still towards me. If I'm on the side, I control the center. It's a very important difference to be in the center or to control the center. Does that make sense? Okay, good. That's something I want you to focus on. So for the first exercise, we're going to start really nice and easy. I'm going forward, and the moment my point is more or less up, that's where it changes. So I turn the blade in my hands, thumb goes on the ricasso, on the shield. I pull with left, I push with right for this moment, and from here, this is the cut that you're making. And while doing that, you push your hand outside the center, so you make contact, and you make sure that my hand is between my left shoulder and his right shoulder, more or less. And slightly higher, slightly above the forearm. I can do it in a straight line. Defensive, I would step more to the side, we'll come to that later. But for this one, I want to go straight in, because I have to come from out of distance, and I want to get within distance to make my cut. Does that make sense? Good. So, he's going to see if I make an Oberhau or make a Zwerchau. And if he thinks it's too obvious, he can tell me. If I'm coming in like this, he can tell me that I suck, because that Zwerchau sucks. Because it comes all the way from over here, and it's for him really easy to counter. Okay, we're not going to counter yet. It's just so you as defender can also see what you have to respond to later. Okay, so that's first exercise. Few things to remember. First, make a normal cut just to see the motions for this cut. And then, the moment the blade goes up, switch, pull left, push right, and make sure to get your whole body behind it. Don't stand too much to the side, your shoulders are wobbly. Make sure to get a proper stand, slightly bent on the knees, and get your shoulder behind the blade. Don't overextend, because that will screw up your wrist, and it's more difficult to move from here. Keep it slightly bent right over here, but you do have to use your distance. Don't stay here, because then you miss about this much reach. Okay, that's first exercise. Just come in with a cut, with a normal Oberhau, and then with a cut that looks the same, but changes halfway. Okay? And if there's anything, just call me, either Matthys or Ties or Mr. Kool, that works as well. Find a partner and get going. There's not much there. You have to be able to actually hit something, which is a combination of the pushing with your right hand and make sure to use the shoulder and not only the wrist, and pulling that motion with the left. So the next thing we'll do just shortly to see if we can get that impact, if I can borrow you. Please hold your sword like this. Okay. So, let me get one thing clear. I don't expect that within an hour and a half workshop, maybe 2 hours, see how much time we have, that I can get all of you to be perfectly in this workout. That's not going to happen. But what I want to do is give you tools to train in your club to work further with this, to become perfect at some point. So I'm going to show you different exercises you can use to train your Zwerchau and to specifically focus on certain parts of that Zwerchau. So the first thing we did was distance, and we'll combine everything later, but the first thing was the distance and the motion. The second is the motion going from the shoulder, from the attack to the attack. And the next thing we're going to do is focus on the cut itself. So he's just going to extend his sword, and basically this is a pal. This is, I'm not opposed to a fighter now, I'm just opposed to a target I'm supposed to hit, which is right over here. So what I want to do is, this is more or less where his head is. Keep that in mind, that's where his face is. So I take my distance, so that if I come in with a step, I'm in with a good distance to cut. That's the distance I want to be at. So I'm not looking at his face, I'm looking at the front of his shoulder, his sword. And what I do is then, nice and easy, I go forward, and the moment my blade is up, I see if I can get some impact behind that cut, just to practice the cut itself. So from here, just take it easy, you come forward with your cut, make sure to not first step and then cut, because then you give it away. You're going forward with the blade, the body follows, foot follows, and in that motion, the moment your sword goes forward, you push with the right, pull with the left, so this is practice the cut itself, because we can do the motion, but you have to be able to get some force behind it. We are supposed to hurt the other person in the end. So for now, that's the first practice. If you want to, you can just start off with your right foot, sword up here, and try this cut. See if you can get some force behind it. And then the next step will be again to go back in your contact, either above the head, next on the shoulder, come forward, and make this cut. Just to see if you can get some force behind this cut. Make sure to not go all the way over here. I want you to stop right there. So your hands are next to the center, your point is through the center, and you've made your hit. Okay? Don't overextend, don't overcommit. Because that's the nice thing with the Zwerchau. If I happen to miss, I still have the point to work with from here. I still have the blade, which is very close to my opponent. I don't want to be all the way over here, where I'm open for a counter attack. Okay? So next exercise is basically the same idea. I come forward in my cut, listen, come forward in my cut, and I change from here into Zwerchau. And again, as I said, this is a motion that I do straight forward, maybe with a slight side step. I'm not really stepping out of line, because I'm the one who takes initiative to his position more than any attack from him. If the defender were to counter from that high position, this Zwerchau still works, and that's going to be one of the next exercises. So keep that in mind, that at the moment I'm taking control by going in, which means I need to close the distance, which means I have to go forward. Because if we are in a distance where he can't hit my hands, if I sidestep, I won't be able to hit him. Okay? So, just do, I don't know, 6 each, short as the pell, and try to make your cuts. Try to make them as short but as hard as possible. So avoid going all the way from here doing things like this, which are a lot harder, a lot heavier, that's true, but also way more obvious. So he'll be able to see it and counter it, and then I'm the one who sucks. So, blade goes up, and that's the cut. Make sure to really get the shoulder in. You have to use your whole body in the strike, and not only your wrists. Okay? Find a new partner. Let's see if we can switch a bit and give it a try. Thank you. Not moving and not breathing. That's pretty much what we're doing with the sword right now. So if I can borrow you. You hold up the sword. So this is where I'm aiming. We pretend that her face is right here at the end of the blade. It's not over here, it's over here. So if I stay on this distance, that makes no sense. Because we are pretending that this is the face, remember? So if I would be standing here, that would mean that in a spar fight, I would be standing more or less here. Which I don't see happen often in a fight. So keep your distance. If I'm pretending, if I'm fighting her, this will be the distance I would be comfortable with. I managed to just touch her hand on this distance. She might, if she overextends, be able to touch my hand. So this is the very, very closest I could get without having to do something. This is preferable. But this is the target now. So I have to stay a little bit further, because we pretend that her face is right over here. Okay? So we are focusing on the target and not on the person. So keep your distance as if the bell or the target, which at this moment is the sword, is the person. Which means that if I make my cut, I have to be within one good step to make the cut. This is the distance I want to end up with. So this is the distance I have to start from. Okay? So remember that the sword at the moment is the target, not the person. So when you make your cut, ignore that there's a person behind the sword. It's normally very rude to ignore someone, but for now you can do that. The sword is the target. So I want to be out of distance to the sword, and when I come in with my cut, I want to be able to hit the sword right where I would hit the head. Okay? I don't have to from here make a thrust at her because I'm ignoring the person behind the blade. The target at the moment is what we practice on. Okay? So as just to practice the cut itself. We can do this on each other's heads with masks, which is fine by me, but it'll get very annoying after a while if someone keeps hitting your head. On the blade you can hit a bit harder without annoying your partner. Okay? So practice on the blade as if it were just a target, just a bell. Ignore the person, so keep your distance to the blade and not to the person. Alright? Just making sure. The Zwerchau, as I said, you can do as an offensive or as a defensive. If you use it as a more offensive motion, where I attack the other person using the Zwerchau, which I do in the situation where someone goes into a high guard, into a Fontaine. Then I go in a straight line forward because I need to close that distance. If we are fighting, if I'm fighting with someone, I am out of distance. I won't be able to hit that person, and he won't be able to hit me. So if I want to hit the person, I need to get closer to him to make my hit. If I make a side step, the distance between me and my opponent stays larger than if I step forward. That's simply because of the angle of the step. Defensively, you want to step sideways, and we'll get there eventually, but for now I want to focus on the offensive. So the next exercise that we do, if I can for you again, get your mask. The next thing we're going to do is the defender is going to cut into my blade as if I come in with a normal overhand. So what we do is, if he, just to show, if he attacks me with an overhand, just a normal cut to the face, my most basic defense would be just to cut into the blade with an overhand, and then, for example, I can thrust him in the face. That's a very simple defense, okay? Me as defender, I'm going to just make that defense. So I can sidestep a little bit. I don't want to go all the way over here, because that completely changes the situation. And something I always say in my own club is that what we're doing is we're answering questions. He asks me the question by getting in a guard, and I give an answer by attacking him. And if he then asks a different question by sidestepping all the way, I have to do something else. I have to give a different answer. So certain situations require certain actions. So one more time. The normal defense, if he comes in with an overhaul, is just to cut into the blade. That's my normal defense. So if the attacker does a Zwerchau, he should be able to, even though I make my defense, he should be able to still hit me, because he controls the center, keeping the hands outside the center, which means that he positions my blade differently, and he comes around with the point. If his hands are in the center, then he won't be able to hit me, because I'm now controlling the center as my defense, and he will have to do something different again to hit me. Whereas if he does the Zwerchau with his hands controlling the center, he uses the strong of his blade to set my blade aside, and then he can still hit me. Okay? So, if he comes in with a normal cut, normal overhaul, I control the center because I take, with my force like I come on top of his. This means I control the center and I can do many things. For example, thrust. Don't do the thrust, but just remind him, just think about it. If he gets into a Zwerchau position, with the strong of his blade, he controls my weapon, which means he can set aside. If you then extend your hand slightly, they will be able to hit. And they also see the difference between doing your cut here or here. It makes a lot of difference. In the end, the Zwerchau is a shorter cut than a normal overhaul. Long edge, short edge. My long edge comes all the way over here. My short edge at least 10 centimeters less, which is the distance you still need to cross, because I'm the one who comes in for the attack. So the exercise that we're going through is following. Both have to have a mask. Is there anyone without a mask? I don't think so, right? Okay. So the exercise is following that we're both standing in a Fontaine. If I'm attacking, I come in with a normal overhaul that if I just do the overhaul, he defends against. So if you defend just like this, and he normally would be able to make the cut. But if I do from here change into my Zwerchau, I should be able to control what he does. Remember though, it's very important. If I as defender do something different, for example, if you come in with a Zwerchau, if I defend over here, the Zwerchau will not work, because I'm doing something different. We assume that I'm making a normal cut from above. If this is the case, you can do something else. There's other things you can do. But for now, the defender just makes a normal overhaul as if the next move were to thrust. Okay? So, remember, certain situations require certain actions. If he comes in with his attack, I just defend. That's the only thing I do. So if he comes in with a Zwerchau, it starts off normally and it changes. He should be able to either come in and thrust or hit me right away. because the position of his hands and the position of his blade is in a better position than mine, he controls the center. Okay? So if I make my normal defense, it should work. If I change my defense, he comes in again, I go over here, then it doesn't work. Because then I'm responding to something that I shouldn't know. Because I think he's coming in with a Vorslag, which I can then counter by making a Vorslag, making an Oberhau myself and thrusting. But now I'm responding to his Zwerchau, which, if it's too obvious, that's where we get back to the beginning. If he comes in like this, then yes, then I see what happens and then I can respond to it. But if he comes in like this and then change, I shouldn't be able to see that before it happens. Yeah? So try as defender not to respond to what you know what's going to happen, because we're practicing something, but respond to what you see what's happening. If he comes in super obvious like this, then of course I won't just make my normal force line, because then I'll get hit in the face. If that happens, then of course you can just go over here and go there, or do something else, do something funny. But for now, he comes in with a cut that looks like a normal cut that changes into a Zwerchau, which means that if I defend myself, I defend against what I see, which is the normal cut. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah.
Perfect. So remember, as defender, I'm defending against what I see. If you as attacker think that he's not doing so, that he's not doing it right, then tell them. The other thing is, if I think that his attack is too short, I just don't defend. Because something that could happen is if you don't move, if you don't move, and I attack like this, he doesn't have to do anything. He doesn't have to defend himself. So I need to make sure that I get my distance. Okay? If you as defender think that the attacker is not getting in the right distance, either he's too far away or he's too close, you can just not defend and then see what happens and show them that what they did sucked. Yeah? Because the attack needs to be at a good aim, and the defense needs to be on a good line to do something else. Right? Alright. Find a partner, and get going. Start off nice and easy, and if it goes well, you can speed it up, but don't start too fast. Control your motions, get a nice fluent motion, defend against it, and see what happens. And if something does something wrong, tell them that they're doing something wrong. Alright? Keep going. What the situation is that we are practicing for. The situation is where you're fighting someone who tries to hit you, and you try to hit them. You don't know what they're going to do, and they don't know what I'm going to do. So if someone comes in with a normal Oberhau, the first thing I do is parry and thrust them in the face. Because if someone comes in with an Oberhau, that's the easiest thing to do. Because it's a good strong parry, and you get your hit right away. Okay? Which means that if I see someone come in with a cut like that, that's my response. If that person then makes a Zwerchau continuing from this cut and going in there, it means that I see that at the very, very last moment. So we're practicing something now that, because we're doing an exercise, I know what he's going to do. I know that they're going to do a Zwerchau because that's what we're practicing. Which means that if he comes in with an attack, I can just parry here. Because I know what they're going to do and I'm not getting hit. But remember that in an actual fight, I do not know what they're doing. And it looks as if they're coming in with a normal cut, which means I respond to that normal cut. Right? If she comes in with a normal Oberhau, so this cut towards here. Thank you. Come again. Again. If I defend myself, this is my defense. I just cut into the blade, I control the center, and I thrust. That would be my normal response. Okay? So, we're in a fight, we're sparring, she comes in with a cut, go here, and thrust. I do not want to go all the way over here. It makes no sense for me to have my blade pointing at the guy over there, because I'm not fighting him, I'm fighting her. Okay? In this position, she can just come under, she can go and do an outside thrust. There's plenty of things she can do. I give her a lot of space. I don't want to give her the space. This is where I want to stay. Which means that if we're doing this exercise, I do not know what she's doing. It looks like she's coming in with a cut from above, so my defense will be here. If she then does the same thing, but now she starts off the same, but continues into the Zwerchau, I make the same defense, which means that she controls the center and she can hit me. Because I'm not going over here, because I'm not defending against the Zwerchau, because I don't know it's coming. Alright, so remember that even though we know what's happening, because it's an exercise we're practicing, I should be responding to her as if I do not know what's happening. Because she controls the center, her strong pushes aside my blade, she manages to hit me. Okay? The only time where you can already cover over here, if I'm attacking you, is if I'm coming in like this. Because I'm being an idiot, and I'm showing what I'm doing. If someone really comes in over here, of course you can cover it to the side, because then it makes no sense to do this. But if someone comes in with something that looks like a normal overhaul, you as defender want to defend so that you can do your thing. And I'm defending here, it takes too much time for me to do something else. And that's not what we're practicing. So, the next thing that we're going to do is an exercise to show that one of you might be doing something wrong. Let me get my mask. Because the exercise is the following. I'm going to attack her with a normal overhaul. And what she does is she defends and thrusts me in the face. Which is a very simple exercise. So, if I come in with a normal attack, she defends and thrusts. Exactly. We do that like 3-4 times, do it a few times. If she does not move, don't move, then I should be able to hit her. If I end up here, I suck, because I need to be able to hit her. Okay? If she does not move, I'm able to hit her on the head. If she defends herself properly, she should be able to be in the center and is 1, 2, thrust in the face. And then once in a while, the third or the fourth or the fifth, I come in with my attack, she defends herself, but I change into a Zwerchau, which means I should be able to hit her in the head. Because if she defends against my cut with a cut from above, my position controls the center and means that I can hit her. So, every normal attack, she parries, thrust in the face. I come in, she parries, thrust in the face, exactly. The moment from here I change into my Zwerchau, I should be able to hit her, because if she defends normally, normal defense, if that happens, then I control and hit her. Because if she just does the normal defense, because of my position, I'm stronger and I control the center. Okay? So keep that in mind, that as defender, she does not know what I'm doing. It looks like I'm coming in with a normal cut. If that happens, she just defends and does her thing. If I then change over here, because of the position, I should be able to hit her. Right? You understand what I mean? So as long as she doesn't know that I'm coming in with a Zwerchau, I should hit her every time. The only time she's allowed to go over here is if I'm so stupid to do this. Then yes, then she can tell me that I suck. Okay? So if I do this, you can tell me. Exactly. If I come in here and she defends, she's doing a good job. If I come in here and there's a Zwerchau, then I don't suck because I hit her. And she defends as if I come in with an overhaul. Okay? So, exercises like these, where you're training something specific, but have a change in what you're doing, are really good to control the situation. Because she does not know what I'm doing. I either come in normally or with a Zwerchau. It means she has to defend to what she sees. If she obviously sees me make a Zwerchau, of course she can defend against it. But it's up to me to make it look like a normal cut that she responds to, which changes into something else. Which means if I'm doing it correctly, I hit her in the head. If I'm doing it wrong, she'll be able to parry. Okay? Remember, as defender, you're creating a situation for me as attacker to learn something. If it's not your goal to not get hit. It's your goal as defender to let me hit you if I'm doing it right. Because as defender, you can choose to be an idiot and just always defend like this. Which means that the Zwerchau will never ever left. But it also means that you're really screwing up the exercise. So, remember, as defender, it's your job to put me in a situation where I can learn something. I can learn to see if my cut looks like a normal cut that changes into something. Or if I'm coming too early, tell me, I'm doing it too early. So if I'm making a good cut that changes into a Zwerchau, if I'm doing it correctly, I should hit the defender. Defender, just let yourself get hit. That means I'm doing a good job, which means, hooray, we're doing the exercise. Okay?
But basically what you're saying is you're not really a defender, you're a coach.
Oh yeah, yeah. And in the end you can change this into where it's, another exercise could be, where it's the task of the defender to try to see my Zwerchau. See if you can spot it before it hits you. But that's another exercise. For now, just defender, just defend and thrust defense. That's the only thing you do. So if I come in normal cut, if I come in changing the Zwerchau, you should not be able to hit me. Okay? So keep that in mind. As defender, you respond to what you're seeing and not to what you know what's going to happen. Alright? Yeah. Keep going. Besides the actual technique itself, what you take away from this is the way of training, where you train a specific technique by not always doing that technique, which means that the defender has to respond to something he does not know, which creates a better training environment. Because the problem with doing a single technique over and over and over and over again is to get into a rhythm, which is something that does not happen in a fight. An actual sparring fight, an actual fight is not a rhythm. It's something that's unexpected. Okay, so if you do an exercise where there's an unexpected factor, it makes it a lot more interesting and a lot easier to train, because then someone does not know what's happening, and that's the situation that you're trying to recreate. The next thing we're going to do is combining the first exercise that we did with the rest that we did. So you're going to move around with your partner. You can change guards if you want to. It's easier as attacker to stay in the front guard because it's just easier to do the cut from there. But if you want, you can challenge yourself by taking different guards and coming in with a similar cut that changes into your Zwerchau motion. But that's up to you. It's easiest if you just start from here. So we combine this with the first exercise where the defender moves around in guards, and the moment they go up in their Zwerchau, you come in with your attack, and they defend as if it's a normal overhaul. If you notice that your defender is defending against the Zwerchau that you shouldn't know it's coming, you can make a normal overhaul and tell them that their point their tip is pointing towards the moon instead of towards you, which it should. Okay. So the exercise that we're going to do, the exercise we're going to do is combining the two. So the exercise we just did, where the attacker makes a normal overhaul, and if the defender defends properly, you get thrusts in the face. So again, if he goes into it, we're moving around, he goes in, I come in with my cut, and he cuts against it, as if he wants to exactly cover and thrust me in the face. If that situation, he hits me, good for him. The moment he goes into it from that, I go in with the Zwerchau. He defends as if I'm making a normal cut. I should be able to hit him. Okay? If I'm fast enough, I hit him earlier. So for this exercise, as defender, I would advise you to keep your arms below your mask. So if you get hit, you can hit on the mask and not on the elbow, because that sucks. But in an actual sparring fight, you can of course go for the hands, which is a good target. So for this exercise, as defender, move around, take different guards. You can move a little bit distance. It's the other person's responsibility to stay within distance, because if he goes backwards and I don't follow, the moment he goes into his contact, I won't be able to hit him because he's way out of reach. I have to come all the way over here to be able to hit him. So I need to be within distance, okay? So if we're moving around and he goes back, if he moves back, I follow. So the moment I want to make my attack, I can. Okay? So keep that distance in mind. So defender goes any guard, and the moment they go into this guard, I would do it with the hands below the face, because if I'm quick enough and I hit you on your hand, you're going to get a really elbow, and that sucks because you have a painful elbow for the rest of the weekend. So just for this exercise, keep your hands low, because normally you can gear up and put all your gear on, but that's going to take a lot of time. I don't want to spend the time on gearing. So remember that you should practice this at home. You can do it with gear, and then of course you can take a high guard where you can hit in the elbow if someone else fast enough. But for now, keep it low so get hit in the head. Because the mask hurts a lot less. So if we're moving about, he goes into his guard. I come in with my attack, and if I'm fast enough, I hit him before he can even make his defense. Okay? If he sees that I'm coming, he can defend as if I'm making a normal overhaul, so he wants to defend and thrust. Which is something I, as attacker, can do once in a while to test his defense. It's a bit sneaky because, I'm putting him in a position where I can tell him that he sucks if he's doing it wrong. But it's good to practice. So if he goes up in the guard and I come in with a normal cut, this should happen, right? But if I do come in with a normal cut that changes into a Zwerchau, this should happen, right? So, according to whoever does what he's supposed to do, I hit him on the head or he hits me in the head. Okay? So we're combining the distance that we're practicing. I have to stay within a single cut distance to be able to cut him. Which means if he comes forward, I have to move back. Theoretically, he's going to hit me as well. If I don't move, if I just stay where I am, he'll just hit me in the head or on the hands or whatever. So we have to move within this certain distance. If his sword goes into a contact, I have to recognize the situation. He goes in, I have to recognize, I have to respond to it. So this is very important, is that you have to be able to read the opening and respond to it. So there is an opening, and I go for my hit. Okay? And if he's quick enough, which he probably is because he knows I'm coming in, he should be able to defend himself which, if I do my circle correctly, I still hit him, and if he does his defense correctly, and I make no ball, he should be able to do it. It's a lot of information in one fairly simple exercise, but it's good to see all those different steps. Keep the distance in mind, keep the timing in mind, keep the opening that you're going for in mind. If, for example, he goes into a front and I don't respond, he can just continue to the next one, or technique. That's not another exercise. But if I as defender go here, 1, 2, 3, and nothing happens, I can just keep moving because he did not use the opening that I've given him. Okay? That's again the coaching part. There's again the coaching part, that if I give the opening, which is to create the exercise, if he responds to it, then he's doing his job. If he doesn't respond because he's too far away or he's leaning back and he's not able to make his attack, just continue with your next positions because you give him the opening, he did not use it, let's go to the next one. Okay? So keep all those different things in mind. Don't go too fast. It's not a speed challenge. It's about doing the right technique at the right moment within the right distance. Yeah? Right. Let's keep going.
I don't see it happen very often, but what you can include is the defender defending and thrusting to the face to a normal overhand. So to practice the situation, you can, as attacker, sometimes not make your Zwerchau, but make a normal overhand. If you're fast enough, you hit him in the head. But if you don't, they should be able to defend and thrust you in the face. Because I do see a lot of people who defend more or less over here, which is good if you know what's coming, but you shouldn't know what's coming. Keep that in mind. The other exercise you can add is if that happens, if the defender pulls them all the way back here, you just hit him on the other side of the head, which is a very logical follow-up. So if you're practicing with someone who is already pulling their sword all the way back here because they know that you're making a Zwerchau, punish them by hitting them on the other side of the head. And there are like 20 different other exercises you can add from there, because there's so much cool stuff you can do, but we only have so much time. And what I didn't want to do is do too much and then have you forget everything again, because then you have it learned. So I hope that even though we've kept the exercise quite simple, it's built up of these different steps. And if you take all these different steps, you can build other exercises along the same way. So we're going to do one more round where I want you to really focus that if you are attacking someone, they defend themselves as if it's an overhaul that you want to thrust to. We don't have more gear, so take it easy, but that's the exercise that we're doing. So if I may borrow you? So the exercise is exactly the same. We're moving around, and the moment she goes into the frontal, I come in with my attack. And if she defends herself properly against a normal cut, this is the situation. She's in control. Her blade is through the center. My point is pointing towards nowhere. Her point is pointing towards my face. Okay? If she's doing a good job. If she's not doing a good job, then her blade is all the way down here, because this is how you defend yourself against a normal attack that comes in. Okay? This is if you know what's happening, or if you're just putting over safe, but then it's really easy for me to follow up. If I come in and she defends properly and I manage to turn it into my Zwerchau, then I should be hitting her. It's exactly the same exercise as we did earlier. So once in a while, I want you to make a normal cut that she should be able to defend herself against. Okay? So it becomes more and more difficult because you have all these small steps you can change in your exercise. So we're moving around. For to make it easier, I'm standing in the front tuck. In the moment she goes up in a guard, I come in with my attack. It starts off as a normal cut, it changes into a cut here. If I'm quick enough, I manage to hit her. If she defends herself, I should be able to still hit her. If I do my Zwerchau. If she knows what's coming, then yes, she can defend, but that's not what's supposed to happen. So keep that in mind. If I make a normal attack and she defends, she should be able to at least point it towards my face. If you don't want to thrust, because we don't have throw guards and jackets, you can just end here, where it's clear that she controls the center. Just to test if she's doing what she's supposed to be doing, or she's doing because she knows something else is coming. Yeah? It's an important thing to keep in mind, that you're training a specific situation, so she has to respond to that situation, and not just something else, which you practice. If that goes well, if everything goes alright, then if you do manage to defend yourself and I don't hit her, you can go into a next step, which is a side step, and make it an umtruk where you hit on the other side of the head. But only go there if the first few steps, the first 3 or 4 steps, go alright. Okay? So don't want to go too fast, because of course we all want to do cool stuff. We all want to do much more fancy techniques, which is fun, which is a lot of fun, but you have to be able to do the first technique to begin with, okay? So don't go too fast. If you don't hit someone because of the situation, because either you don't step in enough or she does very better, then of course you can have this to your arsenal. But the first thing you should do is focus on the step before that, which is I try to hit her, she defends, and if I do my Zwerchau correctly, I hit her on the head. Okay? So, change partner again, and really try to get these basics down. So if I make a normal attack, she defends and should be able to thrust. If I do my Zwerchau, I should be able to hit her. And do that while moving and giving the guard. And again, if we are moving and I'm defending, if I go over here and she does not come in with her attack, that's too bad for her. I'll just change to another guard. If she does come in, I make my normal attack and I shoot it in the head. Okay? So keep all those little things in mind. Yes? Alright, let's go. We have I think 5 to 7 minutes, so let's make the most of it. What I hope you take away from this is of course the motion itself, the technique itself, but also the way to set up exercises to make training a certain technique more interesting and also better, because you relate them more to the situation that you're training in. Of course, the exact same exercise you can do where you're waiting for someone to come in, because now we're doing it as an offensive technique. I attack someone when they have their blade in a high guard, which means that I use this moment to come in. You can also do the same exercise where instead of someone goes in and waits for someone to attack, someone while moving goes in and comes with a cut. It's basically the same idea. The only difference is the distance. And I've mentioned it before, if I attack, I need to close the distance, because we're out of distance, and I want to hit the other person, I have to get in distance. If someone else comes towards me, I don't want to step in, because then you end up with your cross guards on each other's faces, and then you get to wrestling, which is fun, but if you want to hit him on the head, it's not what you want to be. So you can do the exact same exercise, but then the moment someone goes up, they immediately come in with an attack, and instead of stepping forward and doing my cut, I step sideways and do my cut, which is basically the same exercise. It's just responding to the attack instead of the position. There are plenty of other ways to train the Zwerchau and to practice Zwerchau. There are other variations to this as well. But what I want to focus on in this workshop was the combination of all these different aspects that you need to be able to perform any technique anyhow, which is the timing, the distance, the moment, and then the technique itself. All right, so take those things with you. I hope you enjoyed the workshop itself. I hope you get what I was trying to get through, so you can take the wave training back to your own training. And if you keep your position correctly, you should be able to control the center. So remember that if you do your Zwerchau either as an offensive or defensive motion, to not keep your hands in the center, but to control the center. Make sure to get your hands through so your strong goes towards the blade and you control that center. Okay? Does that make sense? Yeah. Perfect. Thanks for your attention. I hope you had a good time, and I hope you have a good time for the rest of the weekend.